Hey, 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 here we are for one more touchdown of the Reimagining Wealth initiative. Okay. Uh, we're really we're really coming to a point that we can almost feel that we're starting to do something really together. Uh, eh, of course, there's a lot of things that we have to discuss. We have to have good and profound conversations, but it seems that we already we're already really reaching this point of doing something together. And what were we doing? What are the things that we're doing? We start to do it together. Well, first there's this exploration that we want to do in the Gitcoin space, right? That Sasorica, as I I understand is preparing itself to be present with a grant proposal, as is already happening with Utopia, is already happening with Taudao, right? we start to make research about not only about crypto blockchain, but make research about the Gitcoin space. We came to some conclusions. We talk about in the last week, we talk about interoperability between these endeavors. How can we operate having Trove as this environment, as this platform where we can map out a series of things that we don't know about, how we can organically flow together, right? How can we organically flow together and making efforts to reach our goals. And you might ask, what are our goals? Well, our goals are not only to increase the capability of our endeavors to be successful, in the sense that we're really making those organizational boundaries very, very, very permeable, very, let's say, very easy to be attached to each other by interpenetrating our proposals as our endeavors, as organizations. In this sense, we understand that we can really harvest, let's say, a good sum of all sorts of cryptos in the Gitcoin space by understanding how we can operate in the Gitcoin space in a very effective manner, right? By understanding its algorithm, by understanding how they run the match funding rounds and things like that. And we talk about making a collectible or a collection, what they call it, collection. Yeah, we talk about making a collection of our endeavors as our footprint and our imprint in the Gitcoin space. So this is something that we have to talk about, and we're starting to talk about this, right? And so we can go to various directions, but I think that the main thing here is to talk about this interoperability between endeavors, right? And how can we align, how can we synchronize, how can we synergize and to act in the Gitcoin space as organism, or how Alexar called in the last week a super organism, right? How can we act in this sense? So I think this is the starting point for us today, unless Lauren has another idea, or Atus, or even Anthony. We can start. Oh, Vincent is here. Hey, Vincent. Be very welcome, my friend.
How is everyone?
Yeah. Good to see you here, man. Oh, of course. And we're going to have Trove. Trove is not only going to be the hosting environment platform where we're going to show off Trove's capability for ourselves and the Gitcoin space, but Trove is going to be is going to have its own grant too, right, in the Gitcoin space. So it's going to be nice, Vincent, to have you on board on this experiment, right? And that's it. Yeah, opening up here, opening up the bar. Who wants to talk? Let's go.
Can I ask Vincent what exactly this Trove thing is? I tried Googling it, but I can't find anything. Could you just give me like a 1-sentence description so I can Google more?
Sure. It's a combination between a knowledge repository, like a Wikipedia, and a social network, and something like Airtable, which manages large data sets. And it encourages groups to collect, curate, and share information, not only within their groups, but across groups and networks, so that we can be working towards building a kind of commons of knowledge instead of just siloed databases. So it's like collaborative mapping. And the link I'll post in the chat. We're about to change the domain name over to trove.earth, but right now it's still catalyst.network.
Okay. Not trove.to?
Nope.
It's a different Trove. Okay. It's very difficult to find it. There's a lot of different Troves. Okay. Okay,
Hey,
thanks, Vincent.
Thank you.
Vincent, thanks a lot, man. I think you're going to do this a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And remember that we talk about tinkering with the mimetic space of the Trove platform, where we tinkering in the sense that we should have concepts and words like hub, node, networks, and things like that. So because this is very and I'm going to ask you again, is that something really mission impossible, or this is something that I know Atus is a coder too. He could join you and he could code this with you. I don't know. Is this a very huge thing to do, or something more simple?
Specifically, what, I guess I have some conceptions of what you're talking about, but what exactly do you think would be a good output?
Yeah, because you see, I don't see ourselves, this endeavor, this proposal, this experiment as a group, right? We're kind of an organism, we're a super organism. We're very organic. We're not so organizational. That we have some organizational input to make things, but in a sense, we are this organism, right? And in this organism is a network of networks, because we're related to a lot of networks. So in this sense that I'm talking about. Yeah,
so I've been working on some kind of diagrams to start to more easily communicate this stuff. So this is one of the ones that I'm working on right now. And I can kind of share a very brief example. I don't know if this is kind of what you're talking about, but interrupt me if it's not. So Trove is working at kind of mapping out information across scales. So for example, as an individual, I have my own house. It's my home in Trove, and that has information that is private to me or only shared with specific people. Then the next fractal scale is projects or neighborhoods, and so this is then you might have your kind of rocket launch pad for your project. At the next level of a group has a building, and depending on how big that group is, the building is a different size. A network is kind of like a city, where it's okay, a lot of different groups are coming together to create a network. And then all of Trove is kind of, a whole country or territory or continent, right? And then there's all of the internet, right? Because Trove also exists within a bigger system of other platforms that it wants to be able to share data with and interoperate with. Right, and so that's kind of the world, and so that's at the level of kind of this is how I've been trying to really visualize and describe the information architecture. And so like inside each building, whether you go into like a city center or into a building or into your home, there's different rooms or spaces which have specific types of information. So in your home, you might have a, right, like a small like bookshelf, whereas in like a group, you might have a library. But both of those things have objects inside of them, which are resources. And then basically those resources, if you put a resource into a group, that resource can also show up in your home if it's something that you're looking for. And then there are different tags, and some tags can be global, and some tags are local. So I might tag a resource with like a personal bookmark, and then no one at the scale above it will see my bookmark. But someone at the network might add a global tag saying like, this is a book about climate. And then it'll be visible everywhere below that scale. So the groups will be able to find that book by searching for climate books inside of our group. And so been working a lot of different ways to visualize and kind of comprehend the different ways that information is shared at these different scales, and also the different like specificity of what you're looking for. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're talking about in terms of like playing around and mapping. I think the other aspect is like actually just creating an account, creating a group, creating a project, and then starting to like actually play around and see what happens is like the other piece.
Yeah, you basically construct, let's say, your logic, your software logic, in a very structuralist conception. Like when you're talking about networks, you're talking about scale. You're talking about something that has a scale. But even now here, we're a network, right? And so a network can be defined not only by scale, but it can be defined by patterns of organization. So you have patterns that are centralized, patterns that are decentralized, and patterns that are distribution, right? Nature has a distributed pattern per se, right? And has some emergent phenomena that are decentralizing or centralizing, right? So this is a very famous diagram from Paul Barron in the 60s, that he maps out what is centralized, what is decentralized, what is distributed, right? And so it is not aligned with this structuralist that it's very common in the technological space. Structuralists maps out the society, let's say, as a whole, or any environment, as something that comes from the individual to the network, right? It's very interesting because there are two kinds of understanding this, right? And this second one is more related to the network sciences, the new network sciences that arose in this century. So it's very recent, right? But you see, this is not an issue, Vicente. It's just a desire to see if we can work with this type of layering, with type of, let's say, structuring in a more organizational pattern and modes of regulation than this more structuralist view, right? But that's okay. We can operate with this framework that you lay out for us here. No problem. Okay. Yeah, it's just something that I feel that it's going to be nice if we could talk with the network sciences that already have this framework to work with, right? Is mapping nature, is mapping all complex phenomena throughout the planet nowadays.
Yeah, and I think the way that I've structured it is based off of how I've kind of just seen things be organized themselves. Like I'm kind of trying to mimic the structure that I just kind of see is emergent. And the piece of Trove that's kind of magical is that, have you guys seen Interstellar?
Oh yeah, no, a little bit.
So like the book on the bookshelf, behind the bookshelf, there's these sort of like invisible lines connecting that into like all of the universe. So unlike in the real world where like my iPhone can only be in this space at one time, so an object in Trove can exist at all scales, across scales, the same object, basically all at once. So it kind of defies the laws of, that's the one rule of physics that we break. And so basically what that lets you do is we have a lot of tools for personal knowledge management and like personal bookmarking. And then we have like, shared Google Drives and G Suite tools for like a workplace. And so by letting those objects exist at multiple scales, then you're able to then get the best of like, okay, I can have a personal perspective over an object that also has another version of itself in a group. And if I edit that object in a way that I'm adding a tag to it that I want someone in a group to see, they'll see it, and it becomes like sort of collaborative bookmarking process. And so that's kind of the one caveat with like there's a organizational scales, and each scale has different amounts of data, which determines how you design something, right? Like you design an interface very differently for like one person as you do for 1,000 people in an organization, right? Just like you don't want to have you wouldn't want to live in a building designed for 1,000 people. You'd feel like an ant. And so the scale informs the design, but the information goes across scales. So that's kind of the caveat I would add. But I would also love to dive deeper into the sort of network science aspect of things and see how that breaks the model.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a touchdown only to talk about network sciences. This is something that I'm very related to. I have been researching and working with network sciences for years now, but it's okay. It's okay, man. I think that the logic and the rationale of what you just craft is bittersweet, is really good. Okay, it has the property. It has a property to make the work that we want to do, right? Or who understands that the world is not fixed, that organizations is not something closed source, right? It's something open source. Every organization, to be organic, has to be open source, right? So for me, it's okay. As I said, it's not an issue. It's just a desire to see if we could work with this network science framework with the Trove project. But that could be a kickside project. I don't know. That could be a project that we could start together, right? We could start to make it a project in the Trove space or in parallel. I don't know. Well, come on, Laurie, please.
Oh, I was just gonna add maybe last week we talked about how we're not organizing around a mission statement. But I'd kind of like to introduce my concept of a smart network. I've been doing work around that for many years, and I have a mural board dedicated to the subject. It is basically like my visualization of all the necessary components for the most simple implementation of basically a network that has some kind of exponential intelligence. And I was just thinking maybe we can kind of use that as a framework for what we for the Gitcoin collection, like a visualization of sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. But so instead of uniting around like, oh, we're going to, save the world in this particular way, conceptualize ourselves as one implementation of a smart network and make visible these kind of things, like maybe conceptualize it in terms of some kind of professional standards, like peer-to-peer professional standards of how we're doing measurement of some kind of like psychological boundaries and stuff like that. Like we're adhering to, and we're creating these professional standards as we go along. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. I'll try to find my what I call the wisdom stack somewhere. It's buried somewhere, but I'll show that to you. So it's less of like a moral thing and more, although it is kind of moral, but not in a kind of like specific, this is how it should be done specifically, but like in peer-to-peer, here are some kind of boundaries that we work within, and here is how we're visually representing ourselves.
Well, that's great, Laura. That's great. That's great. I think that this complements all the work, all the, let's say, all the work that we're going to do with Vincent and Trove beautifully, because it gives semantic, isn't it? If I understood well, it gives semantic for what we're doing, right? And semantic is very important. It's really important. It's not only data, right? It's not only research, it's not only mapping, it's semantic. So very good, very good. Do you have a visualization now that we can?
I do. I'm just a Miro is down. It's on Miro, so I'm just waiting for it to get into that. So I'll show you when I can get in. So I mean, it seems to me just like you know, Vincent's done a lot on kind of implementing network science and kind of data objects in a technical framework in visualization. Me with Kiko Lab has done like a lot of ideation on ethics and boundaries and stuff like that. It seems like Tiberius has done quite a lot of work in terms of methodologies of actually implementing these, like, how do you record your time, how do you conceptualize value and stuff like that. Unai has done work around smart innovation that I think could be implemented, you know, part of that, and just innovation in general. And Utopia, it seems like there's a lot of like experimental stuff going on and stuff connected to media, and so that it could, you know, maybe that's just how we tie it together.
Wow, that's really huge, really huge. And TB, my friend, you're here. Wow, very nice. Very nice to see you. Sad to see you here. And Unai, always a pleasure, Unai. Always a pleasure, my friend. Well, let me ask, I think Atos was going to say something when I was talking with Vincent about Trove rationales and framework.
Yes, I was, but I prefer to wait and see, you know. At first, I was agreeing with Florin. As I see, Trove could be very useful to, how am I supposed to say, to put in evidence some connections, I guess. But one thing that worries me about it, another platform, you know, don't get me wrong, Vincent, but we already use Bitcoin, Discord, Slack, Telegram, a lot of platforms. And I know that Trove is not like them, it's not just another one. We have another proposition, you know. And I think that this will be more clear as we go in. So I also suggest if we could start something together that symbolizes these connection that we're talking about right now. I don't know. What do you think?
I just wanted to add to that, Atus, and maybe one thing Pete has said, Vincent, is that he sees Trove as a more of a specialty tool than as a kind of like a Facebook tool. And so maybe we can use Trove for like this is just a suggestion, but for people who can be kind of trained in seeing these things, but also have little openings for people to interact without joining any kind of platform of any kind. Well, I mean, maybe Zoom or something, but something like super universal that does not take any kind of. But I'm just saying we can use Trove as an integral part without everyone having to be on Trove. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, totally. And I don't think the ideal end goal is Trove can be useful without people spending time on the platform. But that's a little bit in the future. But yeah, in terms of being able to integrate with other platforms too, we have like an integration with Discord, Telegram, Mattermost, and I'm talking with Tibet from Hilo next week. And so I want to be able to kind of have some like combinations, like, okay, you can use like these two tools and they'll work well together because Trove will act as a sort of repository and library that some of these other tools are not designed to do. And the tools that are designed for chat, we do chat there. And the tools that are designed for storage, we do storage there. So there's different tools designed for different things, and there's no one that will do everything. And Trove definitely doesn't want to do that. So.
Chibi last week started a document, a Google Doc, for us to talk about inter and in-between spaces. Remember? And you were invited, Vincent, to lay out a little bit about Trove in this doc. Did you receive the invitation, Vincent?
Unmute.
I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Yeah, and another thing is that Lauren spoke about something about shared objects. Lauren, could you contextualize a little bit this discovery that you guys on Kikolab made about how to make more actionable the visibility of the flows, of the co-creative flows of organizations inside out and outside in? And you said about shared objects, if I recall.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do with these shared objects is, Tiberius, do you remember Francesca Pick did this diagram of all the kind of organizations in our network, and on like the x-axis it was like how kind of business friendly they were, and another axis was like some other measure, like how centralized or decentralized or something like that. Anyway, she couldn't just map this out by herself because she was like kind of a network weaver who has all of this on her mind, and she could just place it like that. But what I'm trying to do is see if we could actually do something similar to that by self-reporting where we are in the network. So it's basically forming a constellation so we can see like, okay, where's the sun compared to where the earth is. And even like right now, we don't even have like a real like kind of political landscape of who is where, because we don't even have a common language. So, there could be two groups across a network who are extremely aligned and similar, and we have no idea. They can't even find each other because the vocabulary isn't necessarily the same, because we're talking about emerging innovation. And so what I'm trying to do with these shared data objects is have instead of uniting around our values, we have these kind of more neutral objects, which might be like, say, it might be story examples, like, like we see an example of a conflict or something that could arise, that, or, these same conflicts arise in like every group, always. They kind of go along these patterns. So we have these static data objects, which are just like a story, and then incoming groups can react to these data objects and say, oh, if we had this kind of conflict, oh, in our organization, this would not even be a conflict. We would do nothing. Or some other group would say, oh, no, this is very serious to us, and this is how we would handle it. But anyway, it just gives you one conflict, so you can actually start comparing apples to apples and say, okay, well, this organization, and you can start even like, like building a kind of political landscape and see who has what values there even are, and how these groups are different from each other. And then someone coming into the network, being onboarded, can then see and be like, oh, I know my place in this network because now I can see where things are in comparison. So it's not like instead of saying, putting a flag and be like, we're uniting under democracy and this and that, it's doing even a more basic analysis of like what is in our network. Like, we don't even know like basic differences between the groups because we have we have nothing static to react against, to say, in relation to this object, this is where we are. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, total sense. For me, total sense, because actually nowadays, the way that we, let's say, meta-organize ourselves as organization has to have any relation or to governments, or to nation states, or to markets, right? Oh, so we're going to do something together because we're going to explore that niche, market niche, right? We're going to explore. So we have social contracts, we have economic contracts, we make contracts to do that, right? That's a very organizational move, right? Very organizational, hierarchical, and it's driven by economic incentives, right? Or political economic incentives. When what you're talking about, Lauren, is to do that, but in a very organic and organizational way, dealing with culture, dealing with language, making this trend-sensing thing, right? Between all the endeavors, all this order, organicity between the endeavors. I know that this, for those who have a very rational mind, it seems like bullshit, but it isn't, because this is the challenge. For me, this is the main challenge for us to operate as an organism or a superorganism, right? And it sits beautifully with all the data, all the mapping, all the interoperability that Trove as a tool, as a software, can deliver for us, right? For me, it makes a lot of sense. Would be nice to hear you, TB, Atus, you and I don't know if you guys got it. I know that TB got it. I don't know if Unai got it, what Claudia just shared, but it would be nice to hear you guys.
I don't know, Unai and Atus want to say something?
I feel like we have several different concepts floating around. Sorry, Unai, go ahead.
Yeah, I just need more time for listening and understanding.
Okay, no problem.
Anthony, you want to
TB?
say something? Anthony, you want to say something? Or?
It seems like we have several different concepts floating around at the time. I got the general idea that Lauren was like, there's a couple different ideas, but one of them was a general purpose protocol for peer-to-peer work. People in the peer-to-peer space would adopt certain principles and methods of doing things, including things that might be considered ethical methods. Does it have any merit at all? you talked about professional conduct within the peer-to-peer space, right? Like professional code of conduct or something.
Yeah,
Lorraine?
I understand this way.
Yeah, it sounded like kind of like a protocol, but a very general purpose protocol that could be adopted by many different people for many different tasks. Is that, Lorraine? Is that like anything to do with what you're talking about at all?
Yeah, it sort of is. Although right now we don't even have the know-how to write an ethical code of conduct. Like
Yeah.
we aren't even there yet. So I'm not saying we
Yeah.
unite around an ethical code of
Well, we
conduct.
can.
I would say we unite around the concept of actually like creating one because we don't have one.
Yeah, but the thing is, it takes a ton of experience in actual doing, like to be the sum of many different projects that have to come together. And how do we integrate the knowledge over 100 different projects with thousands of people? Can't it just be us that come together? And we could write a prototype document. We could suggest something, get the ball rolling, maybe. But to have a refined product takes the wisdom of thousands of people, right?
Yes, exactly. That's why we can't unite around it because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, people try to do that, but they have to. Every time somebody tries to do that, it looks like such a joke, right? It's like some political manifesto in the end. But you get some stuff like Ubuntu is a nice little sort of philosophy for working together without bosses. So I would say it's a peer-to-peer attitude. But yeah, it's not very well fleshed out. It's not really as much. It's not really what you're talking about.
I think that you capture totally the intention, Anthony. It's incredible, man, how you're razor sharp to capture the essence of the things. And the thing is that as I see it, we're talking about something that it's interactive, it's organical, it's impermanent, very organic and very impermanent, and it has a lot of configurations, right? That emerges, let's say. So we're never going to have a general proposed, like you put it. We're going to have snapshots. We're going to have more special relativity than general relativity, right? Putting in Einstein's perspective. We're always going to have a special relativity to some experiment that we're going to do. So this experiment that we're going to do in the Gitcoin space is a special relativity. What are the elements that we're going to pick up in the general relativity, this general, more general space? Is it going to vary? This is my perspective, guys. It's going to vary. It depends who are the actors, who are the agents, who are these organizations that are bundling itself together to do this experiment. So it can vary experiment to experiment, you see? What we're going to do in the Gitcoin space is going to be different to do in another space, right? So, and it can be now 5 agents, let's say Sensorica, Taudal, Utopia, Trove, your Endeavor, everything, but it can be another organizations in another experiment. So yeah, that's the way that I'm seeing it. And as you said, we have to prototype it. We have to start, right? So our intention here is to prototype it, right? And we're going to start prototyping it in the Gitcoin space. Okay. TB, please, man, say something.
Yes. Yes. So first of all, sorry for being late. When I were having sushi together.
Yeah. You live in Montreal, you and I? I thought you lived in a different country.
No. We were playing with crypto, and there is this.
Oh, I missed it. I was.
That is called sushi that you can swap.
Sushi swap. Yeah.
Yes.
The decentralized exchange, right?
Yeah, because we were on Gitcoin and trying to understand how to create stuff. Anyway. Okay. So back to Lauren. What I understand from what you were saying is some sort of classification and compatibility. I see it a little bit like a dating website where people have like profiles, and then you could use algorithms to do some matchmaking. among individuals based on their profile features. So every network will have some features, and these features, if they're described on a common language, then we can do matchmaking and say, oh, so this network is compatible with this one for this thing, and this could be synergy, and they're compatible at different layers, or that's how I see it. And then you could create a map, right? You can create a map and have a matchmaking algorithm, and people can navigate the network. Is that does it reflect your ideas, or?
I would just say, so what I'm sensing is we're going beyond the operability as a common language. So what we're trying to do, like literally, as well as figuratively, is see how we can be interoperable without a common language. Interoperable through many languages and many platforms without having to join one platform, without having to speak one language, without having to do the same thing. So that is basically what we're trying to do.
Okay, but I thought also that you were talking about discoverability. How do I know before I start to build bridges between two organizations? How do I know what's there? So, and then as things become more complex, how do I discover something that might be interesting or compatible, or I can build some synergy with? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I discover a new friend?
So, I mean, I think what we're trying to do is build like a bottom-up ontology instead of a top-down one, though that's the way it's usually done. But if we can simply start systematically building out more and more network connections, the ontology will just kind of bubble up.
I would say, Lauren, that it's not a bottom-up ontology; it's more an in-between. Is an in-between ontology, because we're not going to build something having as a foundational move what we are, right? Like the mission states thing that you said. What we're doing is to map what is in between this endeavors that is not mission state, is this non-local thing, right, that we talked about last week. So for what we're talking here is this in-between ontology that doesn't exist. It's not something bottom up in this sense, at least in my perspective.
That's deep. Yeah. I think that's my favorite thing said in this entire conversation.
You want to map what's between the entities, like the connections between the entities, for instance? Okay. We have a hard enough time just getting them to describe the actual project. Like we were saying earlier, I think Lauren was saying, if we could just get people to basically describe the project, it was you, Vincent. I think get people to describe the project as it actually is, rather than, I don't know, I guess what they currently do, which is mostly marketing. Then it would save us the difficulty of actually going and finding out ourselves, which basically we have to do. You want to go and join a project. Well, what's the reality behind what they're saying? Like, it's true with Greens for Good too. Like, if you want to join Greens for Good or pretty much any other project, what they say on their front page is not the good stuff. If they have a Wikipedia article, that's going to help you. But like, how many people are involved? What are they actually doing every day?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so yeah, that's enough for me on that subject.
Yeah, from what I experience, so we always dream about these tools, and it's good. Where I join Vinny in his peer-to-peer dimension, there is that sometimes through interaction things just emerge, and it's mostly stigmergy rather than maps and tools. So the experience with Atus that I had the other day, so we've been interacting here, and then we actually got together and I had a nice conversation. So he showed me more stuff about Utopia that I didn't know it existed. So it brought me more into understanding what they're doing and what it stands for. And then I showed him some stuff that we do, and we were trying to understand where there could be like an overlapping of interest and synergy. And it's very organic, it's very contextual based, and it's also between two individuals, because I don't know, if Anthony speaks to him, it's probably going to turn out into some other things, right? And they're going to want to build some other type of bridges. And then so do we let people stigmatically build these bridges based on their own interactions in context? So people sense where bridges should be built, or we can apply some tools, and then we have to create abstractions, we have to create models, and as we are doing that, we have to be careful here, because models influence how people react within the model, right? So you know what I'm saying? So once you standardize for interoperability and propose a model, this is what Vinny was saying with institutions and capitalism. Everything has to kind of work as a monolith, right? Hold together. So you have to interface with the government, you have to interface with the bank. So we have created standards. When you want to open a bank account, they ask you, what are you? And then you have a limited choice. I'm a non-profit organization, I'm a profit organization, I'm an individual, and that's about it. And what if you're an open network where there is no category of open networks, and the bank doesn't know how to deal with us, and we don't even know how to deal with them. So there is no protocol. So once you impose a sort of a standardization and formalization, then everything starts to look like that. It propagates, right? So you lose that organic, finesse, and kind of stifle innovation or diversity, right? You kill diversity in some sense. And I think it's a balance, because the world cannot function without standards, and too much diversity leads to chaos and inefficiencies in the system. So there is a trade-off between consolidation by adding structure and efficiency, right? But this is so what we're looking at now is how our networks starting to find each other and interoperate. Okay, so we will have to find that trade-off, I think. But an ontology, some matchmaking tools, something like Vincent is building, so projects can discover each other and they see each other, so it's all that formalization. Okay, the trade-off between that and what I feel that Vinicius is advocating here, which is more like interactive, organic, let it emerge. I'm saying, like, don't screw with it too much. So I don't know the answer to that. I have no clue. What I'm experiencing, and what this is why I spoke about what my conversation with Atus is, that it was very contextual, was very human to human, and we were exploring things, and we got excited at the end about something. I don't know if this is going to lead to something, but at least we got excited. So somewhere we both our minds saw something. You see, so we kind of coordinated. We said, oh, cool. So there could be some alignment and synergy, so we can put that on GitHub, and we can have some common ground to develop, and then we saw synergy between Utopia and Sensorica, and I presented him with other examples from the past. So we kind of saw that there is an opportunity there, So our minds saw it, but without any help from some tools or ontology or some pre-existing structure, some kind of platform,
So that makes some sense. Like I can follow what you're saying reasonably easily, TB. Sometimes I have difficulty, but that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
Unai, would it be nice if you could share with us how is the relationship between the Smart NIA project and the Panvala, and how is this relation? I know that NIA is an NGO, right? And you have a relation in this Smart project. It's kind of umbrella. I don't know. I might be wrong. And it has the relationship with Panvala. If you could highlight for us, how is this relationship? Is this very organic? Is it organizational? How it happens on daily basis?
Mm, I mean, is this related to the conversation? It's yeah.
Totally, because you see,
Okay.
what you're living there in Tanzania is a real thing, right? And you're doing something very, very important, very relevant with folks there via your NGO, right? The NIE. I don't know if you see NIA or NEI. I don't know the
Yeah.
NIA project, but inside this umbrella. It seems to be an umbrella called SMART, right?
Mm.
And it has a relationship with Panvala. So, and Panvala is part of a more, let's say, more greater thing. So, could you highlight for us how this comes along in daily basis?
Yeah, I would say that the Smart Center has been running for a very long time, like more than 10 years, and dealing with simple technologies here. And it was historically it was always with wash, like water, sanitation, and hygiene technologies. 2 years ago, we started with plastic recycling. Now I hope at some point we can include also green for good technology, and yeah, that's it. And then NIA, we call it NIA, NIA, Young Innovation Academy, is another project where, yeah, I think I was sharing already, right? Like the basic thing is like young people here live together in a community, and then they they develop professionally, personally, and they end up establishing social enterprises. And those social enterprises could be like technology focused. Like for example, they could use smart technologies. Why not? That would be something. Or they could use like or collaborate or use the technology that Huawei develops, or who knows? Or they could do something that has nothing to do with technology. Um, and then like NIA as a, well, we are not yet a community, but it will be a community at some point, and we are part of Panvala, which is a community of communities, and who shares like a treasury, which is, yeah, the inflation of the token is shared like through matching to all the communities. And then it also, like, basically what they want to do is like make the community life, like give life to community life, like through the token. So uh, yeah, I think that's it. I don't know how clear it was. That's it basically.
Yeah, that was great. But you only share with us the broad strokes of what happens, what the relationship between NIA and the Smart Center, right, and Panvala. But in the daily basis, what you see that is very organic, that's not protocol oriented, right, is not contractual. What you see that emerges as a result of the interaction between these three bodies, let's say the NEI, the Smart Center, and Panvala.
I mean, the thing is like the NIA is not a thing yet. It's like myself and a colleague right now. And well, we had a selection day last week, and we are organizing events and inviting people and getting to know other people, and yeah, basically inviting people and creating a community. So it's not such a thing yet. So the interactions are not that many yet.
Yeah, but
Sorry. I'm sorry.
forgive me. I'm just trying to understand better how, because if I understood well now, the NIA, the NEI is something that will become something in this environment, right? The Smart Center in Panvala, right? Am I?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there will be a relationship, sure.
Yeah, and how do you see the relationship between the Smart Center in Panvala and the Gitcoin space? And how does this project, the NIA project, gains traction with it? How do you see the relationship? Because you see, what we're trying to understand here is how this community of communities that is Panvala is nurturing the NIA project that you're starting.
Yeah, so I mean, like specific things like Panvala funds activities and events, so that's a good way to organize things here and meet people. And then within Panvala, there are coalitions. So we are part of a coalition, which a coalition is like a group of communities with a more focused interest or something they share. So we are part of a coalition which is called Regenerative Commons, and they're like, we basically have a Miro board where we share like who we are, what we are doing, our needs, our what we have in abundance, etc., so that we can exchange and share resources or whatever we need. And there is also some funding allocated to those coalitions, and we can, if we want to do something together as a coalition, we are free to make a proposal and then get some funding and do it together. We do it together. And yeah, I mean, as I imagine it, it would be that people here, like people who are maybe already using, producing these smart technologies, are of course related to NIA, and that people develop new simple technologies here that other people they can interact, and they can, some of them will be more focused on developing technology, some other people will be more focused on bringing it to the market, or some more other people will be more focused on the community life in our wherever we live, etc. Yeah. I don't know again if I answered the word.
Totally. I think that we have a lot of questions, but I would like to see the reaction from Lauren, Atos, Tiberius, Anthony, Vincent.
I'll wait until others go, but I did find my Miro presentation on a smart network. Just wanted to say that.
I got busy doing something else, so don't wait for me.
Okay, I go. I think it's wonderful. I think that's beautiful tonight, and I think that probably these communities you mentioned already have some, I can say, formulas or methods that works, so we can share with other communities like a common a common knowledge, you know. I think this is related with what Lauren said before, in a way that a knowledge that can be, you know, boundless, borderless, you know. And I think that we can start from some of your experiences that already worked in this exchanging thing, you know, this what you said, abundant, what this specific community have abundant, they exchange. Is there another way, another thing, another method? This method, I think that's great. Any more? I don't know. Can I?
Yeah. What is the question exactly? If there is,
about what you said, this abundant communities
yeah,
that have something abundant, they exchange for with other
yeah,
communities. Is
yeah,
like that?
yeah. I mean, this coalition is pretty new and it's not super active. So far we have that Miro board where we shared like, yeah, our resources, what we need, our needs, our goals, our dreams. And I don't know if there was a lot of matchmaking. Like there are some rows in the Miro board linking abundance with needs, for example. But I don't know if much happened yet. And then another thing I forgot to mention, like of course, like this link with Nia and Panvala, for me it's like I see it as a way of linking all the Web3 space with local people here and creating opportunities and maybe abundance and other ways of making it possible to do whatever we want to do here with the help of other people and also hopefully contributing to other people or to what other people want to do.
So these communities don't use any kind of technology to manage these relations and this trading and these exchanges, right?
No.
Oh. Okay, so I understood.
It feels to me, Unai, that this community of communities that Panvala is very culturally bounded, right? Is very culturally bounded. Like you have, you can have different languages, like is typical in the African continent, or even different cultures, but it has some very strong cultural background that is united and identifies it as this is a community, but has this backbone culture thing that bounds everyone. Am I right in my assumption here?
I would say that there is not such a thing yet. Actually, I have heard sometimes the question like, what is bonding, like, yeah, making us be together other than the token? So some people are questioning that, but it's definitely like the goal to bring communities together and share.
So when you say that Panvala is a community of communities, is more of a mission statement, is more of a desire than an actual thing, isn't it?
I would say so. Yeah. It's in the making, like it's ongoing, like it's something. Yeah. It's not an end product yet.
That's very interesting, man. Very interesting, because all the communication that Panvala makes and I have been tracking is very efficient to communicate to that is already a community of communities, right? So and you can see the difference between what is being communicated, right, and what actually is happening. So there's a distance between the walk and the talk, right?
I mean,
And
I must also say that it's a very broad community. Yeah? So I don't know what's going on in other. There are other coalitions. They might be already doing many things together, etc., etc. Like I don't know everything, and I have been there for a short time, like 3 months or so. So I don't know everything.
okay. Hey guys, I thought that was good to make this deep dive with you and I, and for us to have more understanding, knowledge of where you're now, let's say, positioned, right, with the NEI project and with the relationship with the Smart Center, Panvala. Thanks a lot, man, for sharing that.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if that was a reach dive that we make. I think was, guys. I think highlights a lot of things that we're talking previously. Do you want to comment something, Chidi, in this sense?
Well, I'm trying to map a little bit what you guys are talking about, because when I just introduced me to Git Bitcoin to Panvala and all these things, and his challenge there, his projects. I'm trying to make sense of all that. I'm trying to see. I see here Panvala Observer. You know, I don't understand the ecosystem yet. I haven't mapped the things yet. Where can we learn more about that, Unai? About?
I can share some introduction videos, maybe.
Yeah, that would be nice. I don't know if because Lauren is already with her presentation, but I think what is better, Lauren? Do you want, let's deep dive with Unai with his presentation, with his video, and after we take a look on your mirror board.
Sure.
Yeah, come on, Unai. Let's deep dive together.
Some of those videos are long, eh?
Well, can you share your screen and walk us through some stuff, or?
So I attended this. Sorry, my connection is slow, probably. This presentation about what Pambala is. I mean, there is something I didn't mention, like, well, which is kind of, I find it interesting. In like, kind of, from what I understand, like, I'm still learning, of course. Like, kind of what I understand is, you know, nowadays, like, we have big corporations and so on, like, putting their brands everywhere, like, well, everywhere, in every place that they want, so that we see it and we buy or whatever. And that happens in, I don't know, in football, in, I don't know. So Pambala somehow wants that corporations put that money and then their brand in the communities, and that makes communities be alive, you know, like they will have funding, they will have money to do whatever they want to do. And that's kind of like the goal. So if you can see this graph, they have created this token and they are just releasing it through inflation, like Bitcoin does. So every quarter they are releasing part of it, and the amount they are releasing goes down, goes down, goes down. And this, the yellow thing, is the corporate sponsor. So what they want to do is, like, they want to have thousands of communities and tell these corporations, you know, we have so many communities, so many people doing things, doing events, like basically living and doing things together. Why don't you put some money on it, and then people will get to know about you while they are doing what they want to do. And that's like the, as I understand, the long-term goal, to, because of course that inflation is not forever. There's a limit on the tokens, the PAN tokens that are going to be released. And that's what they want to do. This, at some point, all the matching that goes to the communities will come from corporate sponsors.
It's
And
sort of, it's like and I don't want to say this disparagingly, because I like the guy who started it. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme for like peer-to-peer groups like us. So the early adopters, the people who get in early, are going to be pushed up higher by the people, the groups who come in later, and the end groups will.
Multi-level marketing type of thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a scam, because I don't totally understand it. I'm just saying that the same mathematical dynamics are there with the inflation of people who were there early benefit the most.
yeah, I think it's true at the beginning, like you will get
Just like Ethereum, like the people who were there at the beginning, they profited the most. People who get in later, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that, probably. So yeah, they have mission.
Yeah, you were running us through and we're sharing your screen. So
Yeah, so I mean, I have this video which is very long, so it's
You can share it with us. Maybe we can watch it on our own.
yeah. that will-
I'll send it out in the newsletter too if you just share the video.
But there is one short one. I mean, there is also like about governance is nice. Like nowadays, like they want to basically what they say is they want to make decisions like as much as possible off chain, so no need to vote. So generally, it's like people just make proposals, and if there is no objection in a certain amount of time, then that's it. And the explanation is like if there is a real community, and if people are really working
Yeah.
together, communicating, talking, there is no need for hard decisions and real like voting and knowing who has how many votes or whatever. So kind of finding agreements before reaching the need, having the need to have those votes.
So if I to vote, I had to stake pen, and when we vote something, the winners got the prize, and the losers don't, right?
Sorry.
Sorry.
So what did you say, Atus? Like so far, the time I was there, there was no on-chain voting at all.
If I understood well, the winners of the when has a votation, the winners got the prize, got this they staked tokens that people put it to vote. You have to stake vote with pen, right? That I don't know if I understood well. I just okay, but I can research more later. I don't want to
No, okay.
invest too much time from you.
Okay, so that video was called. I'm gonna watch it after. It's on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
What is the name of the video?
I just pasted the link.
Oh, you did. There you go.
So before Louding shares a screen and drive us through her Miro board for us to better understand the work that she has been doing, that I know that it's really great. There's a question, Unai. Do you feel attracted to be part of this experiment that we're going to do together with this type of perspective, this superorganism perspective that we're going to do in the Gitcoin space with the NIA project? Unai? We lost you? We lost you, Unai, guys?
You must have had to leave or something. Maybe he's having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I disconnected. I could not hear.
Oh, I'm asking if what we're trying to co-create here, we're trying to experiment here, is something that is more organic and less organizational. It doesn't have protocols. Of course, we're going to operate in some standards, but it's experiment. It's experiment to see how can we work as an ecology of DAOs, let's say. How can we work like this organism, right? And how can we have interoperability between us in a very fluidic manner, and to access all sorts of resources, not only the resource that we're going to gain with the match funding rounds on Gitcoin, but all the resources that we already have as endeavors, as organizations. So I was asking if you feel attracted to be part of this experiment with us, with the NEI project, with the NIA project.
Of course, sure.
Yes. So be very welcome. Be very welcome, my friend. Okay.
Thanks.
It's going to be nice to understand better the NIA project, better the Smart Center, Panvala, and all things around. But well, Lauren, I think that's with you now.
Okay, so what I'm going to show you is both based on a lot of research, and also on the other hand, it's something I just kind of pulled out of my ass that hasn't gotten a lot of feedback from those in the collective intelligence community. So this is just my first kind of presentation of where my interviews left me with basically what is collective intelligence. And remember, these are the basic elements that I identified in a collectively intelligent network that will eventually lead to exponential intelligence, even though it's definitely going to start off dumber than just a regular, like, kind of corporate network. We will start off dumber. Okay, so just this, don't get your hopes up. But in the end, I think we could have an incredibly I would give this like 3 years of rapid prototyping, and we could have a pretty amazing network. So that's what I'm guessing. So you feel free to give me feedback on this, and there could be lots of things I forgot, but I will show you now. Here we go. And hang on, let me also put this link in the chat. So if you find it hard to follow, then you can just go to this link. Here we go. So this is, just to let you know, this is off this big, huge mural board, and just one small part of it. So this is the wisdom stack, and it has several elements. So I'll start here. And the first is, actually, why don't I start on the orientation and comparison. So to have a smart network, you need some place where the groups or the people in the network can compare where they are in to each other. So they get some sort of network map of who's doing what and who's where and stuff like that. So this includes onboarding, having some kind of network onboarding. What I call deep profiles, which include individual profiles and group profiles. So what I would think would be handy is like life work mapping, like where people actually want to go in a deeper sense, so the network can kind of help them get there wherever that is. And having better ways of assessing someone's impact on their community. So you know which specific gifts people have. The more we know about people and their specific unique gifts, the more we can able to get them to the network opportunities that are right for them. In group profiles, like what kind of people are in this group, why are they here, and what are the rules for each group. Right now, it's hard to even understand the rule. People don't even know how to say the rules for their group because they don't know how they're different from other groups. Network mapping, breadcrumbs. So where are things in relation to other things? Distinctions and disambiguation. Learning throughout the network, so mentoring, roles, and risk assessment. So that is oriented. So once again, this is basically a framework for letting people know what kind of innovations they're working on and where they would be within this network. Next, I'll go to Convergence and Federation. So this is how we get together, how we interoperate, So how we overcome the differences in language and culture and stuff like that. Network weaving, here is Vinicius right here. Dot connecting. So facilitating collective action is under Convergence and Federation. So collective learning, decision making, and asset stewardship. So we have seen orientation and convergence. Next is detection and dealing with problems and threats. So these threats could be conflict resolution and facilitation, crap detection, like are there like weird cults forming, or some like is there a super predator in our network? Facilitating collective problem solving, like pie slicing. How do we decide what value is and who gets it and where it goes? Then there's diffusion and distribution. So this is like includes a knowledge repository, modularity, like how do we actually turn our collective intelligence into modules or bricks that we can build up bigger things with these bricks. And innovation diffusion, maybe utopia is here. So pattern language with spreadable stories. So this includes storytelling and finding people willing to adopt these ideas. And then the last one is value feedback. So this includes incentive design, signaling, and under signaling I have put currencies, tokenization, social signaling, testing, and very important metrics like what type of impact do each group or person have or want to have. Do they want clear impact, high impact, wide impact, or deep impact? So this is not, so again, this is a framework for not necessarily saying our vision as a network is to provide this kind of impact. It's saying how are we actually measuring impact, and so how do we then use this like type of impact to orient and compare the groups and how well they're doing with what they say that their aims, or we want to have this type of impact, and then how are we measuring that? So it's not necessarily we're saying everyone needs to have this type of impact, but we're saying, okay, we need some kind of standards in how we're actually measuring this so we can start to compare apples to apples. And then what type of capital and bottom lines: people, profit, planet, and purpose. So that is the basically the wisdom stack in a nutshell. Again, not this hasn't gone through like a lot of peer review yet, but that's just, you know, so these are the things that I have identified that if we don't have any of these things, our network will be a disaster. And there'll be some like conflict or cults or like not being able to communicate or something. What?
Lauding, first of all, wow, that was a holocoaster ride, right? That was fantastic. Yeah, very. But you put it, you separated in the bottom lines: people, planets, purpose, and profits. Why did you put this in different domains, let's say? I'm just curious here. What did you put as a bottom line? What you put people in a different domain, that planets in a different domain, that purpose, and you put a profit too. How'd you came up to that understanding?
I actually based it on a meta integrals thing, because they've thought way more about it than I have. So people is like Not like, you know, if you ignore the planet, you know, health of people will be bad, but I think it's more like personal psychology and personal health.
I think they're reasonable categories. It's just like, it's all an approximation, right? You could just say profits and say, well, if you're focusing on the planet, that's just a profit to you. Like, it's just part of what you're after. But it's not money, it's still kind of profit. But there's still reasonable categories. I mean, I think yeah. It strikes me how much knowledge must be integrated into this diagram that you made. Like, it's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff that you must have seen and been a part of to have all these different parts of the diagram.
I mean, I think it shows you how difficult, why it's so difficult, and all of these people are completely fucking different people. Like on the different leaves, they're like, you know, hippie artists and hardcore statisticians, and getting these people together to communicate is hard, and that's why you don't have smart networks, basically.
I think it's really good though. We have there's been a lot of efforts to try to make this kind of thing that I've seen and come across, and we have a really good start on something pretty solid compared to the other stuff that I've seen.
Anyway, I'm hoping that this will at least be, you know, good enough for some kind of prototype to be, for people to be like, oh, I've been working right here on this map, and this is what I've been doing. Like, Tiberius, can you look at it and tell me, like, this is where I am? Where are you?
Well, it was exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking exactly this, Lauren. When I saw this model, I was thinking like the human body. You know, you have our veins, we have bones and skin and many layers. Each layer, in some way, have to talk together. And in a way, I was seeing this model, and I was thinking about. I think some insights about it, about agents, about human agents that we can map that acting naturally in these areas, and you know, like I see well where I want to go, where I want to get is when people just do what they love to do, and this is rewarded, and they can live with dignity, and you know, and I think this is possible. You know, everyone has some talent and is good in something, and can make good. So in a way, everyone is important and can be in energizing some of these papers. And this. I don't know if I'm getting myself clear, but my brain is bubbling now. I like it.
Wow. Yeah, totally, Atos. You see, what Lauren just laid out for us is quite a type, Lauren, of network science approach to see societies as interconnected value networks, right? Very interconnected value networks, and not necessarily smart networks, as you put it, but like those telephone operators networks where the landline is a dumb part of it, right? Is a dumb part in a sense that doesn't have any sorts of intelligence, but it's different because, of course, we as nodes of these networks of the societies that we are, we have as complex and complex beings, we have all sorts of perspectives, all sorts of inputs and outputs of our relationship to our neighbor, to our family, right? To the organization that we work with, and the society as a whole, right? So we react we react. We can be proactive or not. We can be more reactive than proactive, but we react to it, right? Or we just accommodate to its layout, right? As societies, we accommodate to its layout. That's the main thing for me, and my understanding. But what I really loved what you did is because, as Atos put it, is like an organism where all the functions of this networks of networks are really mapped out there, right? The signaling, the value proposed, all the things, and that's a really beautiful work in this sense. But I would say to Atos that we won't have this type of mapping that Lauren did of the networks of the societies that we are. We won't have a type of homostasis, only one type of homostasis. We're going to have all sorts of homostasis, right? Because there are diversity. So that's my take about this metaphor that you use, Atos, to see this mapping as a body, as an organism with different functions, let's say. But we won't have only one type of homostasis. We'll have all sorts of homostasis happening at the same time, and we are always going to have to deal with entropy and syntropy, right? We're always going to have to deal with more chaos and less chaos in that sense. That's going to perturb the homostasis, right, of this meta-organism that we are as societies. I don't know if you guys got my take, but that was my reaction to Atos' commentary. Anyone else wants to react? Man, I can spend 30 days with you, Lauren, just talking about this, right? I can spend an eternity only to talk about this fabulous mapping that you did.
Can I say something? It occurs to me that when you have a diagram like this, to know whether it's a highly refined piece of work that's going to really work well in the real world isn't obvious. Like, it's not at all clear. And like, so it's easy to not appreciate what has gone into it. And I don't know, actually, but I just, I perceive that there's been quite a lot of experience put into it. But it's just a hunch, I guess. But, and you don't know what's been trimmed away, and you don't know what's been cleaned up, and what's been optimized until you actually go to use it and see the results of it working. So we really need some experimenting, I guess.
I mean, I can guarantee you that this is a crap model, but I don't know if there are other models that are better. I haven't seen a better one, so that's science.
We can only go from the ones we know of, so. But I was, there's a, what's it called again? There's this little community in, I think it's in India. I wish I could remember the name of it, but they have a community where they play games and stuff, and they are big on organizing and how they do things. Yeah, I wish I could remember the name. It starts with a D. But they had similar, they were pursuing similar things. They made a lot of notes about how they ran their organizations and their sub-organizations, and tried to accumulate wisdom and make notes on the subject. I think I might remember it later. So I'll get back on that one. Yeah.
Lauren, what do you think would be the next step to take the wisdom stack? Like, what sort of experiments might you do, or what sort of like what would take it to the next level, I guess?
I don't know. I mean, I think that just going with an experiment of basically trying to fill in these leaves with something, like as best as we got for now, and just use this to be like, where is this stuff? Like, who is doing what? Like, who is where on this, and what do they have that's in our network? You know, all of this stuff is experimental, and then just basically make a map of, say, if we have these groups in Gitcoin, just making a boundary and just being like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to measure our, end result, and see if we can have like each group or person or whatever give something to this network idea and be able to take things out of it as well. So it's basically a way to categorize each group's area of innovation. And so then you can know, oh, there's like someone in our network now who does conflict resolution. And if you're part of the network and you're, donating this, and you can take out this other thing. I mean, it's, going to be, is not going to work great. That's what I'm saying. It's going to start off just really stupid, but, I think it will get better quickly.
Yeah, I agree totally with you. And if you show this to people, from different perspectives and paradigms, they're going to have their own take on it, right? So if you put guys related to the collaborative economy or the sharing economy, they're going to have a different take about it. If you put guys related to the Silicon Valley, the singularity technology thing, they're going to have another take about it. So it's interesting. If you put the third sector of NGOs to look at it, they're going to have a different take about it. So the beauty of what you map is that it has the possibility to intermingle of all sorts of perspectives. That's the beauty for me, right? And I think that's a beautiful framework that we can use to do our experiment here, to prototype our experiment here. I don't know if you guys agree, but it's going to be a wild ride for us.
So I would say just within like our group right here, we have enough innovations to start off like something really incredible. And basically the foundations of an experiment are to do something we know, like to make boundaries of who's in, who's out, what are the responsibilities if you're in, what is the time bounding, like how long are we going to do this experiment, how are we going to measure success, and how are we going to document our learnings.
I would be concerned that even our collective experience isn't enough to glean wisdom that's worth much. Like has to be such an enormous quantity of experience and people to get a good document, like a good protocol worked out. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure that's true. I mean, all we're trying to do is come up with something better at the end and not perfection.
Okay, yeah,
we can definitely do better.
Yeah. So
yeah, I agree. We need white paper, and information. But I really like the practice and examples. I'm thinking about something here. If we have time, I will show you. But keep going.
So if we go, say, we want to try to implement this wisdom, put this wisdom into action. We can go in the Greens for Good organization. We can look at how we tend to do things. We can compare it to the document, and we can say, we can move towards integrating these different features so that we'll be ready to be part of a larger collective intelligence when the other organizations also do that. But I mean, what else can we do?
Yeah, Anthony. This what you just said made me think here one thing. You see, until now, all things Taodao related, all things Utopia related, all things Sensorica related, all things Nia related, all things Trove related is being done in a very, let's say, closed source way, in a very, let's say, inner ecosystem way. Let's say what is happening in Sensorica is happening in Sensorica with the Sensoricans, of all the things that Sensorica has been doing, right? What is happening in Utopia is happening with all things Utopia has been doing, so on, so on, so on. So I'm suggesting that we open more to see if this movement that we're going to make, the experiment in this movement that we're going to make in the Gitcoin space, we already do it in a very open board, open way, a very open way, where we can map, we can start mapping using this this mapping that Lauren provides us, the roles, let's say, of the things that we as endeavors we have, the roles that we are fostering, that we are evolving, that we are innovating, right? And so that we can start to see how we can have any kind of interoperability between us, and we can see ourselves as a collection in the Gitcoin space, but not a static collection, but a very active, a very pulsating collection that is not only there to have a footprint, right, related to the peer-to-peer movement or to the regenerative movement, but something very proactive in the Gitcoin space that is learning in between us and is going to learn with the environment. So I'm going to ask you guys, what would be the first step for us to do this? Are we going to use the Gitcoin, the Trove page that we started, the Trove environment to do this, or are you going to and develop the Google Doc thing? I don't know. I'm a little bit lost here as the first step for us to do this together. Because you see, we can just do what we're doing, right? Taudao is preparing a new website, is preparing new documents in the Gitcoin space. Utopia is starting to do this too. Sensorica has been doing, but we're doing in our silos, like Tiberi said. So only having some visits through the wormholes, Discord wormholes to talk. But is that the time to open more the code, and we start to see what we can do together in an intersectional way, right? To view what is this interoperability that we can have in together as experiments in the Gitcoin space. So that's what I'm talking here about.
Yeah, but I think it's an ecosystem of tools. So we have a newsletter that is good. Did you send the newest one? The newest anyway. So we have a newsletter. So we have a mechanism to broadcast. So people that are not here every week to coordinate part of this core group, they can still get the messages. Something is happening somewhere. So that is a tool. Then we have the thing on Trove where we could do some mapping and I don't know, making sense of the things that connect together. We can use Google Docs. I think that and Gitcoin. I see Gitcoin as more as a sort of place where we materialize stuff. This is where the action becomes real, because it can have real consequences, right? So we have the information tool, we have Trove to kind of make sense and map and layout, but nothing really concrete happens. But Gitcoin is the place where shit can happen because you can get some funding and do something with it, right? So I think it's all of that, how do we coordinate among them so people don't get lost? That's the eternal problem of open networks, and I think it's even harder when it comes to network of networks, because if Sensorica has its own ecosystem of tools and people know where we talk, where we document, where we log, in Taudao, people know also where they talk, where they document, but when you get into that space of in between, everybody gets lost a little bit. But it seems like we have our new tools. We have the newsletter, we have the Gitcoin, we have some documents, that we have the Trove. Maybe we can use Trove also as a repository of information, so link documents to it, link the mural, that presentation of the wisdom to it, maybe, you know what I'm saying? So it's somewhere to like one-stop shop to get. Is there a way to share links? Like I have a sort of you know, like Digo, or like you know, a place where we can share stuff that lives on other things. I don't want to import the document necessarily from one database to another. If a document is public and sits on the Sensorica Google Drive, you know, we can just place a link right to it. And
yeah, I think that the thing that is missing, in my understanding, is something that we have been improving and practicing in the Taodao sphere. That is the shareable fund, this interactive organic shareable fund. We can have this as a future too, to be for this experiments. We can give up. We can give birth to this shareable fund, and the shareable fund can be all sorts of resources, not only cryptos and fiat, but all sorts of resources, right? Yes. I don't know if it has to be something centralized, because in Taodao we do it decentralized. Everybody has a bit of the of things that they want to share. That it's fiat money, it's crypto, is its own knowledge. So maybe we can start with the shareable fund feature too.
Yes, yeah.
Proposal,
Yes, that's also something. That's something pretty real. Yeah, so we have information exchange. We can have exchange of some other type of values. But you know, Atus and I, we not touch exactly on that, but we were talking about, you know, he has minted some tokens on the Ethereum sidechain, and he was thinking about what can we do with it, you know. And then we spoke about some Sensorica coins. What can we do with it? And with Unai today, we were playing with Polygon, trying to understand how can you make transactions that are very low cost and you don't have to pay huge amounts of gas. So all these things, you know, it's like, you know, we can collect these bits and pieces and you know, go towards having some sort of transaction mechanism. At least start with the stuff that is very light, you know, like tokens. We can exchange tokens because they're light. They don't care about country, you know, and the banking system, everything is just peer-to-peer. And we can add more stuff that is more heavy, you know. It's like, oh, here's the Sensorica Lab, is a shared asset. Any Brazilian that comes to Canada can take shelter in the Sensorica Lab. You know, so and there too, you can have some identity, you know. Unai also taught me how to deal with this new identity app that I already forgot the name, but I downloaded it. So
yeah, there's a bright, but well, I think that my Vincent wants to say something, but I want to ask first if Unai is already in Trove. Unai, are you in Trove, man?
I am, but I don't really understand. I think I need to watch the video from last week and then create my profile and do something there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I have digit ID. So what if we create a sort of a community based on this digital identity? And you know, I mean, Unai, Vinny, somebody in Brazil that you know and you vouch for can just show up at the lab with his identity. And if we have a list of identities, I don't need to you know, there could be some transfer of trust. You know what I'm saying? Something comes and it says, well, my identity is on a Sensorica's database.
Yeah.
And I've been vouched by Vinny, and then okay, cool. Here's the door. Here's the key to the lab. You know what I'm saying?
The irony of that is that this digital identity is based on a trustless protocol, and what we're doing here is based on a trustworthy environment, right? Yeah. It's very paradoxical, but I think that Vincent wants to say something. Vincent.
Just take care, everyone. I have to run, but there were some really good threads in the last like 15 minutes, and I wrote them down. So they're in my notes for next week for like continuing the conversation. I'll talk to you soon.
Can we turn on video and smile, and so I can take a picture? Atus and Unai. Atus,
I
can you
need
turn on your video?
a moment, please.
If not, it's no problem.
Let me try.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling.
Okay, we're gonna do
Oh,
an
doesn't work.
I know
Doesn't
Vincent
work.
has to go.
Sorry.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. Thank you. Bye.
That's out.
Yeah. Well, so folks, we're wrapping up here. We're already took the photo, right? That famous photo of 1921 when Einstein and those guys reunited to talk about quantum, to talk about general relativity. We're talking about something different here, but that's it. Well, what you think? What's your thoughts? Your final thoughts for us to wrap up this year?
I just wanted to give a link to Unai. This is our before we have all of our stuff in Trove, we're going to do a batch upload to Trove when we're ready. But just in the meantime, Unai or Anthony, if you want to go back and watch one of our old videos or review the transcript, you can actually see the keywords on each transcript and go to the specific place and stuff like that. So if you want to do that, that's on the spreadsheet. So once it's on Trove, it's going to be like a pretty amazing documentation of everything that we've done so far that you can actually travel through, especially now that we're doing like the newsletters and have like the key points and the place in the video and stuff like that. So it will be pretty sophisticated by the time we're done.
We didn't have a newsletter this week. We didn't manage to do it, right?
We did. I did. I sent it out last night.
Yeah, you sent it. I didn't receive it. Again.
How come no one got it?
It's incredible. It's incredible. I'm going to take a look at it again. Okay. Well, of course, I'm going to see it because I have the login and password, but I'm going to see it again. Well, folks, say, Anthony, we're just wrapping up here, my friend.
Oh, is there a central repository for these transcripts and stuff? I seem to remember a link.
I just sent out a link.
Okay, so there's a link, and if I poke around on our website, I'll find the previous ones. Okay.
Right.
Now, can I say something about our discussion here today? I really like this idea of accumulating wisdom over time for how do we collaborate as a group in a peer-to-peer way with our organizations. And we usually jump into our organizations of whatever kind, and we try to huff and puff away at whatever engineering problems we're facing without integrating this knowledge that Lauren is talking about. I think partly because it takes so long to accumulate this knowledge, and it's just not a top priority in the near term, but it can kill you over the long term if you're not using it, right? Like to say, to have a smart network, it's very important to do this kind of thing. And those things in particular that you included in your diagram. So it's a difficult problem because it's kind of a long-term, it's not really abstract, but it's more of a long-term, but it's also really important. It definitely adds up a lot over the long term, right? It's like infrastructure building or something. So I very much look forward to talking about that again at some point. I think it is really, really important. But it's not glamorous, right? That's why it hasn't been done before as much. And I seem to encounter this problem quite a bit. There's a lot of problems in our society which haven't been addressed very well, not because they're not important or not interesting, but because they're not glamorous.
And no one owns the problem.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, like I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. Like nobody can make money off the problem. You mean?
No one is responsible or bears.
No one is responsible. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Although it's everybody's problem if we don't integrate good wisdom and act sensibly over the long term, it really kicks us all in the pants. But yeah, it doesn't belong to anyone in particular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very well put. Very well put, Anthony. And I would add that if we here can open a little fractal space in our daily agenda to look what we're doing, we're trying to co-create here together, we're trying to craft here together, we're going to have a more dynamical peer-to-peer thing happening here, right? And the thing is that we're in a very C-tropic mode, right? We're doing a contraction to better understand how we can operate, can co-create together, right? And we already have all the futures, the elements, the tools to do this. So there's no excuses now, my friends. There's no excuses. We're going to have to deep dive on it. So that's my final words for this touchdown, and let's make it happen.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yeah, that's it. Bye, guys.
Okay,
Let's
bye, guys.
go.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Unai.
Bye, people.
Bye, Lauren.
But I can't believe you didn't get the newsletter. I wonder what happened.
I'm going to take a look. I'm going to take a look.
Can you just make sure that you even got it?
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to take a look.
Because I received it. It said it when sent out, and I received it. I just assumed that people got it, but maybe I sent it out late last night.
Yeah, I'm going to just stop here.
Okay.